Hey everyone, we're looking at solving equations today. We're going to do a few applications. This will be part 3 of our solving equations. Uh, we're going to look actually at the volume of a sphere. The formula for a volume of a sphere is sometimes referred to as 4/3 pi r cubed. So the formula is 4 divided by 3 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius cubed. So r stands for the radius. It's a good thing to note. And v is our volume. So our first question asks, find the volume of a sphere with a radius of 5 centimeters. So what we want to do is just take a look at this and fill in the quantities that we know. So from this statement here, we're looking for the volume, and we know we have a radius of 5 centimeters. So our R value is going to be 5. So our formula is going to look like this. Pi times 5 cubed. So then we start to evaluate what this is going to be. So 4 over 3 multiplied by pi. Well, what's 5 cubed? I know that to be 125. So we have 5 cubed is 125. But it's always nice to double check on a calculator. Oh, sorry, not 25 cubed, but 5 cubed. Yeah, so 125. So next up, you may be unsure of how to handle this way of writing, but really this is 4 over 3, and then that quantity is multiplied by pi, and that's multiplied by 125. But we can do first is actually just multiply the 125 by the 4, so that we get, so let's just double check that that's 500. So 500 over 3 multiplied by pi. So after that, we'll divide 500 by 3 to get 166.66 repeated pi. So then multiply that by pi. And we have a final answer of the volume is equal to 523.598. So maybe we'll say 599. Okay, lastly, we want to be able to state our answer as properly as possible. So we know that the radius was 5 centimeters, so the volume is 523.599 cubic centimeters. That's important to note that our units matter here. Okay, so that's our first example. Let's take a look at another. Find the diameter of a sphere with a volume of 455.9 cubic inches. Okay, so sometimes, just to help process, we'll draw ourselves a sphere. And now what I want to know is the diameter, so all the way across. So what is the diameter given the volume of 455.9 cubic inches? Okay, so next I'll write my formula for volume, pi r cubed. And it might not be so clear, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this formula to figure out the one thing that I can from it. I'll plug in the volume and determine what the radius is. From there, I can double the radius to find my diameter, which is what I'm being asked to find. So 455.9 is equal to 4 over 3 pi r cubed. And despite being almost the same situation, it's the same formula, it's still the same shape. The way that we solve these two representations is to me, very, very different. So here, I want to kind of get the r value all by itself. So the first thing I recognize to do here is to multiply by 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. That will get rid of this 3 down here. So that's gone and that's gone. So we have 4 pi r cubed still. And we'll just do that quickly. 455. So 1367.7. Okay, now I'll divide by 4. To get pi r cubed is equal to that divided by 4 as well, 341.925. Next up, it seems I have to divide by pi. So we'll divide that by pi. Make an arrow here. I just want to note something here shortly. Divide this by pi, I get 108.84. Now, like both of these are very important points that I want to make. You'll notice that 0.84 actually isn't what I have here, but I find that it's very messy and ugly to write all of the digits. So I kind of claim it as a rounded value, but when I actually do the calculation of what comes next, which, how do you do the opposite of a cube? Well, actually, you want to not square root, but you want to cube root, which is an option that you have. So the way I do that is, I believe if we go into here, I want to cube root my answer. All right, so that gives me an r value equal to 4.77. Now let's be clear, I'm also rounding this, but when I do my calculation, I'll use the full value that I see here on my calculator. This makes it look nicer, but also I still end up with the correct value that I want in the end of things. So now we'll double that value to find the diameter. 9.5489, so say 9.55 inches. Remember, it's important that I'm not in centimeters or meters here because my initial volume was in cubic inches. So my diameter that I solved for and my radius actually are both in inches. Okay, so that whole little kind of side conversation on the rounding of things, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about here. Now this is kind of what I would claim as my answer. I always say don't round anything until the very, very end when you're done calculating. The last piece here, I'm going to go back to this stage. Here I divided by 4 and then I divided by pi. I can actually do that in one swift step and divide everything by 4 pi. So that will cancel both the 4 and the pi up here. And I'll divide 1367 by 4 pi. That's something I certainly can do. Let's find that value. 1367.7. Now I'm going to divide that by 4 pi. And I do this for a couple of reasons. I want to divide by 4 pi. And if I actually do this, it won't give me 108. Because I didn't actually divide by 4 pi here. The calculator read this as divide by 4 and then multiply by pi. So what I actually want to do is the 1367.7 divide by 4 pi. Put that in brackets. And I'll get that 108 value that you see down here. So there is a way to kind of skip some steps in a way, but you just have to be really aware of how a calculator reads things. So that being said, the last piece I want to talk about is, have I actually answered the question? So find the diameter of a sphere with a volume of 455.9 cubic inches. Have I found the diameter? Well, yes, I have found the diameter. So I have found the diameter of this basketball. So yeah, 9.55 inches. I'm not actually sure if I mentioned, yeah, this is regulation basketball. So that's all for applications.